Winning while uncomfortable. Andy Roddick praises Coco Gauff's rare ability to survive tough days. Andy Roddick offered his assessment of the current state of the WTA's leading players ahead of the 2026 season, paying particular attention to American star Coco Gauff. For a third consecutive year, Gauff finished inside the top 3 of the rankings, once again trailing only Aryna Sabalenka and Iga Swiatek, the same hierarchy that has defined the women's game in recent seasons. At just 21 years old, Gauff closed the 2025 campaign firmly established among the elite. In June, she added another defining achievement to her career by capturing the French Open title, the second Grand Slam of her career. The triumph further reinforced her status as one of the tour's most reliable contenders and a long-term pillar of the WTA's top-tiered. In his analysis, Roddick emphasized that evaluating Gauff requires a different starting point than with most players on tour. Rather than focusing on short-term struggles or isolated technical flaws, he argued that her consistent presence at the top of the rankings demands a broader perspective. According to the former world number 1, Gauff's ability to remain competitive year after year speaks to a deeper understanding of how to win matches, even when conditions are not ideal. Roddick explained that coverage of Gauff should reflect her established status rather than expectations tied to perfection. He stressed that her game should be judged by how she manages matches, adapts tactically, and imposes physical pressure on opponents. With Coco at number 3, we are not going to start from a negative place, Roddick said, noting that fairness requires acknowledging what consistently works rather than exaggerating visible weaknesses. Roddick highlighted Gauff's tactical clarity as one of the most underrated elements of her success. He pointed to her ability to settle into matches, apply patterns, and force opponents into uncomfortable positions. We are going to talk about how she is able to settle in, how she applies her game, how she creates errors and stress, he explained, emphasizing her movement and defensive coverage as key foundations of her success. A central pillar of that structure, according to Roddick, is Gauff's backhand. He described it as one of the most powerful and reliable shots on the WTA Tour, one that often goes underappreciated. She has one of the biggest and hardest backhands in the world, he said, adding that Gauff uses her forehand not as a liability, but as a tool to open the court and dictate positioning within rallies. Roddick also underlined that Gauff's defensive patterns are intentional rather than reactive. He noted that her ability to absorb pace, reset points, and transition from defense to offense is the result of repeatable systems. She sets up her defense with patterns. It is not an accident, he stated. Beyond technical analysis, Roddick focused on Gauff's mental resilience as a defining trait. He argued that her capacity to win matches despite physical or technical instability separates her from most of her peers. To go through things that are physically and mentally not working and to get through it and win consistently is a superpower, he said, highlighting how rarely young players can maintain results under sustained pressure. He also addressed one of the most frequently cited critiques of Gauff's game, her double fault numbers. Roddick contextualized the issue by pointing to her ranking stability despite those struggles. There is no world where anyone else can deal with 20 or 25 double faults and still finish 2 or 3 in the world every year. She does not leave those positions. It does not matter how much we see her struggle. We have to give credit where credit is due for Coco at some point. Roddick concluded by stressing that results, not aesthetics, define elite competitors. He argued that Gauff's ability to win on difficult days is unmatched on the tour. If the losses are ugly, I don't care, he said. She is the best in the world at being uncomfortable on a given day and getting a win. Winning is often painted as a clean, luminous thing. Perfect timing, flowing confidence, the sweet certainty that everything is working. Sports highlights feed this illusion. A player in the zone, shots landing on lines, opponents shrinking under pressure. But real winning, the kind that builds careers and legacies, is usually messy. It happens on days when the timing is off, the legs feel heavy, the mind wobbles, and nothing looks cinematic. This is what Andy Roddick points to when he praises Coco Gauff's rare ability to win while uncomfortable, a skill that separates champions from contenders. To win while uncomfortable is not to deny discomfort. It is to acknowledge it and keep moving anyway. It is the capacity to compete inside uncertainty, to make peace with imperfection, and to survive moments when the game refuses to cooperate. Roddick, a former world #1 who understands the lonely arithmetic of pressure, recognizes something unusual in Gauff. She does not require ideal conditions to find a way through. When the day is hard, she doesn't wait for ease to return. She adapts. Tennis is an unforgiving mirror. There is no hiding place, no teammate to absorb momentum, no clock to kill. Every rally is a conversation between intention and execution, and discomfort interrupts that dialogue constantly. A player might feel physically sharp but mentally foggy, or mentally fierce but physically drained. Weather shifts. Opponents change patterns. The ball behaves differently at night than it does under the afternoon sun. To win only when comfortable is to win conditionally. To win while uncomfortable is to be durable. Coco Gauff's durability shows up not as stubbornness, but as flexibility. On days when her forehand misfires or her serve wavers, she leans into other strengths: her speed, her anticipation, her defensive skills that stretch rallies until the opponent blinks first. She turns survival into strategy. This is where Roddick's praise lands hardest, not on a single shot or stat, but on an approach to problem-solving under stress. What makes this rare is not the presence of talent, but the presence of patience. Discomfort invites panic. The scoreboard tightens, the mind races ahead, and players feel compelled to fix everything at once. Gauff resists that urge. She fixes what she can, when she can. One better return game. One longer rally. One extra step to reach a ball that shouldn't be reachable. These small acts accumulate into momentum that looks, from the outside, like grit. There is also a psychological humility in winning while uncomfortable. It requires accepting that today will not be your best day, and that this is not a failure. Many athletes confuse excellence with control. When control slips, so does confidence. Gauff separates the two. She competes even when control is partial, even when confidence is borrowed rather than owned. That separation allows her to keep playing the point instead of arguing with the day. Roddick's perspective matters because he knows the cost of discomfort. He knows the temptation to force winners when patience is demanded, the frustration of being close without being clear. His praise suggests recognition, not just of what Gauff does, but of what she avoids. She avoids spiraling. She avoids making discomfort personal. She treats it as information. Something to read, not something to fight. This ability is especially powerful in an era of relentless comparison.